All right, so we are with Jack Heneghan, owner and coach of Into CrossFit today. Jack, thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for asking me.
So today we're going to talk about what it takes to become a coach, why you should coach, if you're ready to coach. So Jack, you've had the gym here since 2011,
Yep.
Probably seen loads of coaches come through. What are the biggest qualities for you that you think it takes to coach?
I think the first thing is that you have to have a real desire to want to coach, and then have an understanding of really what it involves. Some people come from a group instructor background, so their mentality is very much an encouragement base. As CrossFit has kind of changed over the times, people need to come into it with more knowledge. People now expect the coaches not just to be able to teach them, okay, this is a deadlift, this is a squat. It's actually, they'll come in, I've got back pain, can you help me sort my back pain out? I get asked questions which 6 or 7 years ago I would have been asking a physio, and now we need to kind of have that knowledge. Yeah, so it's changed massively over the 6 years from just someone who's really good with people, is very personable and understands the basis of CrossFit, to someone who is really the first kind of port of call for all things health. So you just have a real knowledge on nutrition, movement, lifestyle's a big one, so helping to understand people's personalities and stuff as well is kind of where it's at now. And then within that, it changes all the time. 3-4 years ago, there's a huge endurance thing about CrossFit. Everyone wanted to know about that. People have noticed in the last kind of year, there's a kind of almost a bodybuilding thing coming back into CrossFit, where it went from compound to actually if something doesn't work, you have to figure out what part of it doesn't work. So coaches have to then be willing to change with the times and constantly learn. So if we get an application from someone who's oh, I did my CrossFit level 1 in 2010, and then we see see nothing. It's so that's kind of a big one, is that they're constantly looking to educate. One of the other big ones that I really look for, and it's kind of a niche thing, but it started because of something I went through, is someone that when we get talking to them say, I had this injury.
Rather than just, I want to improve my sort of 1RM.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they come in and they're like, oh, well, I've been coaching for a while. I stopped kind of doing a lot of CrossFit when I had this injury and had to do loads of rehab, because then immediately I know that they've
gone through that.
Yeah, and they've understood movement.
Well, I think that's even from my point of view, that's where I understand how to improve movement, because just so you know, I'm always injured. I think I've been injured 3 times since I've been here. It's not because I train badly, it's just I'm prone to it, and it's how it is. But I think that if anything, actually injury has made me move so well, and it's taught me so much. So I actually don't think in that sense it's a negative thing. It's part of your journey.
Definitely, it's a real positive. Just in the same way that I've been really lucky in the coaches we've had come through that were mostly good athletes, but also could coach. Equally, I've had some people that are incredible athletes who I know wouldn't be great coaches because they were so good as athletes. It was okay, this is a split jerk, bang. And they can do everything without understanding anything.
Well, that's it. Athletes are just good at the execution part, isn't it?
Whereas,
exactly. Coaches are good at looking at, okay, how do I fix that? How do I fix that?
Yeah, exactly. And so if someone comes in that does understand all of that sort of stuff, and I show them how to do something, they do it instantly, and then I go to them, okay, teach that person how to do it, and that person can't do it, you can see immediately they're like, okay, do what I do, and they're like, well, we can't. So you have to have loads of different cues, tools, be able to relate to them in different ways and stuff to kind of be able to pull that out.
And so which point in someone's athletic or career are they ready to coach? Do you think there's a point where you're okay, now you're ready to become a coach?
Good question,
I think because within coaching there's so many different elements that you need. You need the confidence to stand in front of a class, you then need the knowledge, you need CrossFit experience, you need to be able to perform a certain amount of movements. We're not expecting someone to come in and be an absolute ninja, but you need to be able to show someone how to do a pull-up in order to teach them how to do a pull-up. So I think there's different areas. We've had people that are teachers or they work in kind of a PR role, so they have one part of coaching very much ticked off, which I would call the confidence part. And then the rest of it, as long as you've got kind of one part, we can then start bringing in the rest. So it's more about when you're ready to start, which bit of it do you need to start working on? So like you guys are kind of thinking about doing a little bit of coaching. If you haven't done much like public speaking.
Nick and I just passed our level 1s, by the way.
Fully fledged, affiliate ready. So yeah, it's like with some people it's going to be, okay, we just need to get you up in front of people. One of the old coaches that we had here, Nicole, was like really technical. She knew a lot of stuff, but maybe hadn't coached that much before. So with her, it was literally, she came in, she'd just flown in from New Zealand. She shadowed me for one class and I was like, okay, you know what you're doing, just coach. And she was like, what? And she, over time, she said that was actually really good, but at the time it was like a real, deer in the headlight moments, and I was like, you just have to get over that bit straight away. So I'd say you need to be moving well. You need to have been doing CrossFit style work for at least 12 months, and you have to be at a point where you're willing to stand up in front of people. In some ways, there's a real thing of like fake it till you make it, and that's what I say to people, like when you're up in front of a class, if you have maybe like 2 to 3 good things to say about a squat, just say it with confidence. Instill that confidence into other people. Don't be hesitant and don't go beyond your reach. Feel free to to push it on to other people. If someone asks you a question that's too technical, don't just try and like blag your way through it. Just be like, I'm not 100% sure, ask one of the other coaches, go see this person. It's kind of a long answer, but I would say move well, have been doing this kind of stuff for at least 12 months, and have done some more education than like just your CrossFit level 1.
And in terms of like yourself as a coach, like how do you continually develop? Like I think you've got so many qualifications, I don't even think I can list them all. And you've done like Jim Jones, you've done loads of other stuff. Like how has that impacted like how you coach here?
It's good, and it's brought in a lot of new stuff to the gym, but it's also, I think every coach needs kind of a core self-belief of what they're really passionate about. So for me, I'm very passionate about strength training, how to make someone stronger.
Sure, we all want to be stronger.
Yeah, exactly. You've got like people like Jamie, who has got a great all-round base, but he's also incredible with like injury stuff. If someone's got an injury, how to bring them back. If someone's wants very specific programming for CrossFit, he's very, very good at that. So what's really crucial when you go out and you do all of these educational things is, for me, I take the bits that really relate to me and help like further grow like my core beliefs. I got into this really bad habit for a while where I'd go and do a seminar and you'd almost see it like in the programming straight afterwards. You get like what I call like shiny, it's like shiny key syndrome. And if you keep doing all these different ones, and instead of just being like, okay, we've done West Side, what's going to help me with what I work on? Cool. And now I've done like maybe like a McGill back specialist one. How's that going to relate to what I do? And you keep kind of pulling stuff in. If you just go like, ooh, and you keep moving like back and forth, you just end up all over the place.
I think that's even just like doing CrossFit though, isn't it? You're constantly like, I want to learn how to do this, I want to learn how to do that. Same with coaching.
How important is it then for coaches to sort of feed off one another as well?
Yeah, it is really important, and it's quite hard because we have a lot of people come and go just because of the nature of the area, so it's quite hard to get that kind of consistent feedback. I learn loads if I just sit and I just watch someone else coach, and I just like pick up like little bits from here and stuff. When I first started coaching here, I'd interned at another gym, I'd coached basketball, so all of my coaching stuff was more on kind of an approach to coaching versus any sort of theory on CrossFit and stuff. And I remember when Gareth started coaching here, that I could just like sit and watch 3 of his classes back to back, and I'd be like, wow, that's like a weekend's worth of stuff that I've just learned. So watching other coaches is really important, and then also I guess like don't be afraid to ask another coach. I think that's sometimes there might be a thing of, do I want to share something with them because I've worked to get that knowledge, but if you just like kind of open the taps, and
power it as well.
Exactly. Just really talk to each other, draw on from each other, like anything that they've learned, and don't be afraid to ask those questions. You're never going to know it all, especially within CrossFit, because there's already so many different things, and then each one of those things you can go like real far down a rabbit hole.
Plus there's always new things coming in play as well, so it's never the same. It's constantly very functional.
Exactly.
Or the high pace. We learned that earlier.
like repeat. Because now it's like they just say it at the front and then you all just like,
Who would you say like your sort of mentors are there?
I'd probably say there's like three main people in terms of a coaching standpoint that I've learned the most from, and not necessarily because of like how much knowledge they've given me specific to like strength training or CrossFit, but more just on like their approach and their mentality. So when I was growing up, I had a really good basketball coach who was also a teacher, and he probably had more influence on me than like anyone else as I've ever had. He like instilled in me a work ethic, his approach to coaching. Like I remember he could like walk onto a court or whatever, and like the amount of respect he would have instant was just like really good. And I just remember always thinking, oh, that's where I'd like to get to. And he didn't do it through, remember like you might have had teachers at school who instilled respect through fear. Like he never made you scared. He never really yelled at you. You
but
just
also
like,
you probably know if you pissed him off.
yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, I mean, he was like 6'4" and he'd played like college football. So if you pissed him off, you'd like be bricking it. But he had this ability to like command respect because he'd really earned it. So that was a big thing for me.
I think it's so cool when you meet people like that. I'm almost like, how did you get there? I want to be like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a good skill.
And then when I was kind of getting into my early coaching days, or when I thought like I knew what I was doing with strength training, which was like, you know, curls and bench.
Is that not?
That's, yeah, I mean,
right?
which is,
strength training,
yeah,
right?
my seminar will be out soon, don't worry. So I I went to a camp where I was coaching, and one of the other guys there, a guy called Brendan McArcher, who just finished playing professional rugby, I used to go to the gym with him, and I was like going on chest days, and then I saw him coming out of the gym one day, and he was just like drenched in sweat. I was like, what have we been doing? Thinking like running or something. He was like, oh, it's leg day. And I was like,
What?
why are you sweating so much from just doing legs? He's like, don't you do legs? I was like, yeah, I run like 10K a week. And that was like my mentality, because I'd be like, well, runners have like toned legs. So if I run loads, they'll be toned.
I love the term toned.
Yeah, exactly. No one even kind of knows what it was. So he was like, okay, 2 days time, come in, we'll do a leg session with me. And like I did not walk properly for a week. And that I'd probably say more than anyone influenced me to the point where we ended up opening here, because he opened my eyes to a whole new different way of training. And he was like, this is actually what training is. And he was one of the first people that coached here with me. And had he not had like shoulder stuff, like he'd been one of the best athletes we've ever had, but he was an ex-rugby player, so it was like this. But again, like, had a great approach. His work ethic was insane, so that was really good. Pete Vodden, who I met through Jim Jones, who I'd known, he's one of those people that like everyone has him, you know, through social media, and had actually spoken to, and we almost had quite like a good friendship going, having never met.
You know that's how Nick and I met?
Really?
We were
Through
Insta
social media.
friends for about 3 years before we
And
actually...
actually Twitter friends as well. You definitely followed me first as well. But we were friends. Definitely did. But yeah, we were Insta friends as well. So that's a good way to start your relationship.
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the good things about the social media stuff now, is like as a coach you can learn from people all over the world without like having to actually go meet them. But I met Pete, and I knew he was coaching someone who I'd done some work with, Joss Thompson, who's now like a night coach, and she would tell me about the stuff she'd do with him, and I was like, I need to like see what this is about. And I'd actually been at a gym that was hosting a Jim Jones seminar once, so I'd seen Pete again, like, and then hadn't actually spoken to him. This is like 3 years down the line, and I was like, okay, I'll go and do some sessions with him, and like had an instant kind of bond with him. But I very much almost looked at him as like a big brother coach model. He had done so much of the stuff that I wanted to do, but he's been like doing training and strength training and various other things for like 20 years. And to actually find people that have trained consistently for 20 years time, it's crazy. And he's now
obviously works with actors, to athletes as well, so there's such a variance. What he does.
But he's just incredible at like bringing stuff out in people that they thought they weren't capable of, and he's kind of someone that I still relate to now, with coaching stuff, with business stuff, and loads of back and forth. And like when he asks me a question now on like if I can help him out on something, I'm almost like,
God, yeah.
It's like you're starstruck.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So that's really cool. And then obviously there's other people on a business front, like my business partner, who you guys obviously know, Flora, like has taught me more about running a business than I could ever have thought that I would know. And like you think you know about running a business before, and then when you actually know someone that knows what they're doing, you're like, I don't know anything. This is terrible.
You're like, I'll just go back to coaching people.
Yeah.
And she'll like, sometimes even now, she's like telling me stuff and I'll be like,
I definitely
and then she'll ask me a question, I'll be like,
Just smile
Yeah.
and nod, Jack. Smile and nod.
fake it till you make it.
yeah,
right?
exactly, 100%. You just gotta be like, yeah. So like, people in here think I know what I'm doing, and I'm like, yeah. Flora, what are they
Well,
talking
every
about?
time I ask you a question now, I'm never going to believe you.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a business-related question, I'm literally like, I have my phone, I'm like,
So like pretty much like all the people you've just mentioned have all had like quite extensive athlete backgrounds or quite
Yeah.
extensive coaching backgrounds first. Like
Yeah.
do you think that's therefore necessary before you do the qualification?
No, because if you guys know, if you look at some of the coaches that we've had here, some coaches that are really, really good, they haven't come from that background at all.
Yeah.
So like MC, who doesn't coach that much anymore, would like, I'm not even sure she'd ever held a barbell before she came here. And I know
that's nice, isn't it?
she kept fit before, like in the old school classic sense of like, you know, running, did a few different things. But she had the blueprint to go on and learn loads of other stuff. So I don't necessarily think you have to be an elite athlete before. Yeah, I think there's good things that come from it that are really positive, and like things you can instill from having not necessarily been an elite athlete in the sense of things you've achieved, but things you've experienced.
Yeah.
Because if you imagine, like Brendan's a great example. He was a guy who I was learning from, but who had access to world-class rugby coaches, strength coaches.
Yeah, so he had all their knowledge.
Who they in turn
Yeah.
had all of that as well. So in that sense, yeah, it's great if someone comes from being an elite athlete because they have all of this other stuff that they've been exposed to that they can bring to it. But do you need it necessarily to be a great coach? Like, no, I don't. It's not 100% kind of given.
Cool. Thanks very much, guys, for tuning into this episode of GFC. And
Thank
thanks,
you, Jack.
yeah.
As well.
Thanks for having me,
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah.
Good
If you
stuff.
guys have any other questions for Jack, just post them in the comments and Jack will get back to you.